Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to Jinjin's Cosmic if you didn't happen to be here. Perhaps it's time to meet your soul.
One, the hidden drain expert insight. As an astro-numerologist, I've observed a recurring pattern in Libra souls that unfolds silently, often beneath layers of grace and charm. It is the paradox of light, the way a Libra's radiance becomes both their gift and their greatest vulnerability. For months, perhaps even years, you've been unconsciously pouring your light into spaces and people who have quietly taken more than they returned. This is not because you were naive or careless, but because, at your core, your vibration is built upon balance, harmony, and relational energy. You are ruled by Venus, the planet of love and beauty, and your life path is often intertwined with the archetype of the balancer, the one who restores order, heals conflict, and creates equilibrium where chaos reigns. But there is a cosmic truth that every Libra must eventually face. Harmony built entirely on your effort is not harmony at all. It is emotional labor disguised as peace. You see, in the language of numerology, Libra's current vibration is highly sensitive to the world year number 9, 2025, which represents endings, completion, and karmic closure. This energy has been gradually exposing the imbalance between what you give and what you receive. It's been showing you the invisible currents of energy exchange, the subtle ways in which others draw from your light, not out of malice, but out of habit. People are magnetically drawn to your serenity. They come to you for advice, comfort, validation, even silence, because your presence feels like still water, reflecting back clarity to their confusion. But while they heal, you absorb. While they rest in your peace, you become the vessel that carries their chaos. And because your sign lives by the creed of fairness, you rationalize this dynamic. They need me, you tell yourself. They're going through something. And that compassion is genuine, but when compassion lacks boundaries, it transforms into energetic depletion. In spiritual anatomy, this shows up as what we call a light leak, a consistent outflow of prana, chi, or life force energy through the heart center. Libras often experience it as unexplained fatigue, emotional numbness, or a growing sense of disconnection from joy. The irony is that this drain doesn't announce itself loudly. It happens subtly, in micro moments. A conversation you stay in too long, a promise you make to avoid guilt, a smile you offer even when your soul feels tired. Over time, this becomes a pattern, a karmic loop of giving until you are empty. And because Libra is ruled by Venus, your self-worth becomes tangled with your ability to please, to harmonize, to make things beautiful again. You begin to believe that love is earned through sacrifice. That silence is the mature choice. That holding your peace is the price of keeping peace. But this silence has been expensive. It has cost you your inner equilibrium, your intuitive rhythm of the subtle, sacred pulse that tells you when to give and when to step back. In the grand wheel of the zodiac, Libra sits opposite Aries, the archetype of self-assertion, independence, and raw truth. Every Libra journey inevitably involves learning to reclaim a touch of Aries fire, to protect the self without guilt. This year, that lesson deepens. The cosmic tide is turning from 9 to 1, from conclusion to creation. This means any dynamic that drains you is reaching its expiration date. Energetic reciprocity will become the new law of your life. And so, when the universe begins to close the doors that lead to imbalance, it is not punishment, it is purification. Those who have fed on your light without giving back will naturally fall away, not because you have changed too much, but because you have finally remembered your worth. You may notice the shift first as restlessness, a subtle inner voice whispering, "I can't keep pretending this is okay." That's not selfishness, that's awakening. It's your soul calling your energy home. From a numerological standpoint, this internal shift corresponds with a personal vibration of 7 turning into 8, the transition from introspection to empowerment. Libra, you are being asked to re-establish energetic contracts, to examine, where am I giving without being met halfway? Whose peace am I protecting at the cost of my own? What part of me still believes that withdrawal equals rejection? Your chart shows that this moment, late 2025 into 2026, is a cosmic audit of your emotional economy. You're learning that not every connection deserves your light indefinitely. Some souls come only to witness your brightness long enough to remember their own, and then they must leave. You are not here to be everyone's sanctuary. You are here to learn how to build one within yourself. When a Libra truly understands this, something magnificent happens. The same light that once leaked outward becomes concentrated, refined, radiant, and magnetic. Instead of being drained, you begin to attract. Instead of being the peacekeeper, you become the peace itself. And this is where your evolution begins. The exhaustion that once haunted you will fade the moment you stop mistaking emotional servitude for love. The fatigue you feel is not weakness. It is sacred feedback from your soul, reminding you that your heart was never meant to be a public well with no boundaries. So, dear Libra, as a practitioner who has watched many souls pass through this exact doorway, I tell you this with certainty. Your light was never meant to be currency. It was meant to be guidance. The right people will never take from it. They will grow beside it. If the past few years have felt like you were pouring endlessly into others, take this as your sign. The cycle of overgiving is complete. Your peace is calling you home. In the months to come, as the numerological year transitions to 1, you will feel a shift, a gentle yet undeniable reclamation of your energy. Do not fear it. This is not selfishness. It is sacred alignment. It is the universe saying, "Your light has done enough healing out there. Now it's time to heal you." And when that happens, Libra, the balance you've spent your life seeking will finally cease to be an act of effort. It will become your natural state. 2. The awakening expert insight. October is rarely a gentle month for Libra. It is your mirror season, when the sun, Mercury, and often the eclipses align in your sign, forcing you to see not just who you are, but who stands beside you. In numerology, this October carries the vibration of the universal 9, the number of endings, closure, and illumination. It's the month when veils thin, when what has been hidden beneath harmony is finally brought to light. This year, the revelation strikes at the heart of your relationships. The masks are falling. The truth can no longer be softened by diplomacy or wrapped in pleasantries. Libras who have spent months or even lifetimes keeping peace through grace now feel the quiet pressure of truth rising beneath their skin. You may sense it in sudden intuition, a dream that lingers, or a conversation that doesn't sit right. It is the universe tapping your shoulder, whispering, "Look closer." You will begin to notice who has been standing beside you out of genuine resonance, and who has been quietly feeding off your energy. The awakening is not about betrayal, but about energetic awareness. When we talk about someone using your light, we are not speaking in metaphor. In esoteric numerology, every person emits a frequency. Libra's frequency, governed by Venus and balanced on the 6 and 9 harmonics, is soft, magnetic, harmonizing. It heals imbalance merely by existing. But it also attracts polarity. Those who lack internal balance are magnetized to you, subconsciously seeking the peace they cannot create within themselves. For years, perhaps decades, you have mistaken this magnetism for connection. You called it empathy, friendship, love. But now, the frequency shift of World Year 9 Right Arrow 1 is altering your energetic ecosystem. In cosmic terms, this transition closes karmic contracts that have expired. And when contracts close, truth surfaces. You may feel it first as discomfort, your body tightening around certain conversations, your energy draining after a single message, your heart resisting old obligations. You'll realize that proximity does not equal alignment. Some people were meant to accompany you through a season of growth, but not into your new era. Their presence becomes heavy not because they are bad, but because their vibration no longer matches your evolution. As a specialist in the Libra archetype, I've witnessed this phase in countless charts. It's the mirror fracture moment. Libra, who has built an identity on reflection, on seeing the self through others, must now separate the reflection from the reality. It is disorienting at first. You may question yourself, am I being unkind? Have I become cold? No, dear Libra, what you are experiencing is clarity. Clarity is not cruelty. It is the soul's way of restoring symmetry. It may shock you how close this realization strikes. Often, it's not distant acquaintances, but the inner circle, partners, friends, colleagues, those who have stood closest to your light. But understand, this revelation does not come to wound you. It comes to free you. When a pattern of energy exchange becomes one-sided, the universe must intervene because it violates the spiritual law of balance that your sign embodies. You are the zodiac's living scale. Imbalance can exist only so long before life tips the plates. In numerology, October's frequency corresponds to the number 8 for many Libras, a vibration of karmic justice and energetic accounting. It is as if the cosmos is conducting an audit of your heart's investments. Where have you been depositing love with no return? Where have you been paying emotional interest on debts that are not yours? This awakening teaches discernment, the difference between support and dependency, partnership and quiet manipulation. Support uplifts you while allowing you to stay yourself. Dependency drains you while disguising itself as affection. Partnership expands both souls. Manipulation keeps one small so the other feels secure. Energetically, you can sense the difference in how you feel after an interaction. Do you feel inspired, grounded, calm? Or do you feel depleted, anxious, subtly guilty for wanting space? These emotional aftertastes are your intuitive diagnostics. The awakening is not about confrontation. It's about recognition. The moment you see clearly, the dynamic begins to dissolve on its own. From a cosmic standpoint, this revelation marks the closing of Libra's Piscean karma, the centuries-old archetype of the peacemaker who loses themselves in the name of harmony. The new Libra rising from 2026 onward will embody conscious equilibrium, a being who knows that peace without truth is illusion, and empathy without boundaries is erosion. As the sun moves through your sign this October, it will form powerful aspects with Pluto and Chiron, the planets of truth and healing. They will expose not just who drains you, but why you allowed it. This is the deeper layer of the awakening. Behind every imbalanced bond lies an old belief. If I am kind enough, I will be loved. If I stay quiet, I will be safe. These mantras no longer serve you. They belong to the Libra who sought approval, not to the Libra who now seeks alignment. When the realization comes, perhaps through a conversation, a subtle disappointment, or a sudden emotional detachment, do not rush to fix it. Let the truth land. Feel the weight of it, but do not fear it. In numerology, the vibration of 9 carries both grief and liberation. Something ends so that space can be made for what is true. Spiritually, this phase is what we call the light recall. Your energy, once dispersed among too many chords, begins returning to you. You'll notice your intuition sharpening, your creativity reviving, your sleep deepening. The same radiance that once leaked outward begins to condense within your field, strengthening your magnetism. People may even say, "You look different, brighter." It's because you've stopped leaking light. This is the sacred paradox of awakening. To lose what never served you is to regain what always was yours. So, dear Libra, do not fear the unveiling. It may feel like loss, but it is actually reclamation. The relationships that survive this illumination are the ones built on equality, transparency, and mutual nourishment. The ones that fade were never truly balanced. They were lessons in disguise. From an astro-numerological lens, October 2025 is your threshold month. It marks the end of the karmic ledger and the beginning of energetic sovereignty. In the months ahead, as we cross into 2026 and the vibration of one takes over, you will no longer be asked to maintain balance at your own expense. Instead, you will be invited to embody balance from within. The awakening, then, is not an external event. It is an internal shift. You are no longer the light that others borrow to see themselves. You are the light that knows its own source. When that realization settles, everything changes. Conversations simplify. Relationships clarify. Energy flows cleanly again. And for the first time in years, Libra breathes without holding their breath for someone else's comfort. 3. The turning point, expert insight. Every great transformation begins with a single, undeniable whisper. Enough! For Libra, that whisper does not come as thunder or chaos. It arrives quietly, like the tightening of a string stretched too long, the subtle awareness that something inside can no longer be maintained. The universe rarely shouts at Libra. It simply mirrors back imbalance until your own scales tremble under their weight. This is the turning point, the inflection in your soul's storyline, where what once felt virtuous now feels heavy. The peace you used to protect no longer feels peaceful. The relationships you once nurtured with patience now echo with fatigue. And so, the universe intervenes, not as punishment, but as course correction. In the cosmic calendar, this moment coincides with your transition from the world year 9 into world year 1, a rare vibrational bridge that happens once every 9 years. The number 9 dissolves, and the number 1 is born. One chapter dies, another ignites. The collective and the personal synchronize, closure and initiation all at once. This is the soul's equivalent of exhaling fully before the next breath of life. As a practitioner, I often describe this as Libra's axis realignment. For years, your internal compass has tilted toward others, balancing, moderating, cushioning. But now, the axis must turn inward. The same grace you once extended outward must be poured back into yourself. The harmony you've been cultivating externally must become your internal frequency. The celestial mechanics behind this are precise. Libra, ruled by Venus, lives in an endless dialogue between connection and autonomy. Yet every Venusian archetype reaches a threshold where connection without self-definition becomes dependency. In your chart, this threshold is illuminated by Pluto's slow dance through Aquarius and the approaching trine to your sun, the aspect of self-empowerment through detachment. When Pluto touches a Venus-ruled sign, it excavates everything false about love and beauty. It asks, whose peace are you maintaining at the expense of your soul? It demands that your definition of love evolve from sacrifice to sovereignty. And so, the universe whispers again, this time louder. Stop apologizing for your light. For Libras, brightness has always been a double-edged blessing. You are naturally radiant, elegant, kind, magnetic, and because of that, others unconsciously attach themselves to your glow. But here is the cosmic truth. If your light consistently nourishes others more than it sustains you, you are not shining, you are burning. The turning point, therefore, is not a moment of rebellion, but of energetic justice. The scales return to their true position. You are being asked to stand in full luminosity, even if that illumination exposes who cannot stand beside you in equal strength. In numerology, this phase vibrates to the number 8, the octave of empowerment and karmic recalibration. The infinity loop of the 8 mirrors the Libra scales, two halves seeking equilibrium. Under this energy, all that was uneven must balance out, emotionally, financially, spiritually. Those who gave less than they took will fade not because you banish them, but because the law of resonance no longer supports the exchange. When you stop dimming your truth to keep the peace that remains is real. The people who thrive in your authenticity will stay. Those who depend on your compliance will drift away. It is not cruelty, it is chemistry. In higher metaphysics, we call this frequency sorting. Your energy field refines, filtering out dissonance like light passing through crystal. You may find this unsettling at first. The Libra instinct resists separation, clinging to unity even when unity is unsustainable. Yet the deeper spiritual law is clear. True balance cannot exist where false harmony is protected. To continue dimming yourself for others is to interrupt your own evolution. This is where the sacred paradox emerges. Reclaiming your light will feel like rebellion only to those who benefited from your dimness. To the universe, it is survival, a necessary act of alignment with your divine blueprint. Astrologically, this turning point echoes the myth of Astrea, the celestial maiden of justice who left Earth when humanity lost its balance. Libra, you are Astrea returning, choosing, this time, not to abandon the world, but to stay and anchor fairness through presence. To do that, you must first restore fairness within yourself. From a numerological perspective, your personal vibration during this period resonates with 1 and 10, the numbers of initiation and divine selfhood. The lesson is simple yet profound. Leadership begins at home. You are being invited to lead your own energy as faithfully as you have guided others. To reclaim your light, you must rewrite your emotional economy. The new equation is not, I give so that we can be at peace, but I give because I am at peace. Notice the difference. The first sacrifices self, the second radiates from wholeness. The first seeks balance, the second is balance. Practically, this means small yet radical acts, saying no without explanation, allowing silence to be your boundary, choosing solitude over performative connection, prioritizing projects, relationships, and environments that energize rather than drain. Each of these choices signals to the universe, I am ready to be my own source. And when you become your own source, external energy begins to rearrange around you. Opportunities align. Relationships recalibrate. You no longer chase harmony. It orbits around you naturally. In cosmic psychology, this marks the end of Libra's mirror phase and the dawn of the radiant phase. In the mirror phase, you learned through reflection, understanding yourself through how others responded. In the radiant phase, you emit energy from within, attracting only what vibrates in integrity. It is a profound shift, from reflection to emission, from diplomacy to truth, from peacekeeping to authentic peace. Many Libras fear this transformation because it temporarily feels isolating. You may lose companions, audiences, even roles that once defined you. But know this, the emptiness that follows is not absence, it is sacred space. The universe clears your orbit so that only those aligned with your next frequency can enter. In essence, this is energetic evolution, the recalibration of your soul's partnerships, purpose, and self-expression. You are stepping into an era where your boundaries become the architecture of your light. So when the universe whispers enough, listen. It is not reprimand, it is permission. Permission to stop shrinking. Permission to inhabit your full spectrum. Permission to remember that your radiance was never meant to make others comfortable. It was meant to make you whole. The act of reclaiming your light, Libra, is not rebellion. It is resurrection. And from this turning point forward, your scales will no longer tilt toward others. They will balance perfectly, centered, sovereign, serene, reflecting a truth long overdue. Your light was never meant to be borrowed. It was meant to lead. 4. The liberation, expert insight. Every spiritual contract ends the same way, not with noise, but with release. And for Libra, that release begins the moment you call your light back home. You may not even realize it at first. One morning, you wake up and notice the exhaustion that used to cling to you like fog has lifted. The air around you feels lighter. The constant hum of worry quiets. You breathe differently, deeper, cleaner, freer. This is not coincidence. This is energetic reclamation. In the language of numerology, this stage corresponds to the vibration of number 3, the frequency of expression, creation, and rebirth. After the karmic reckoning of 8 and the clarity of 9, the 3 emerges as the first song after silence, the first color after grayscale. It's the energy of laughter returning, of words flowing again, of life humming beneath your fingertips. The fatigue you carried was never just physical. It was energetic congestion, a buildup of unexpressed truth and unacknowledged imbalance. When you stopped trying to keep the peace and instead chose to keep your boundaries, your life force stopped leaking. Your nervous system recalibrated. The body always follows where energy leads. From an astro-numerological lens, this is the intersection of Venus and Uranus, the 2 planetary rulers shaping your current evolution. Venus restores pleasure and self-worth. Uranus electrifies your spirit with authenticity. Together, they rewire your definition of freedom. You begin to understand that liberation is not escape, it is alignment. It's not about leaving people behind. It's about leaving behind the versions of yourself that tolerated misalignment. You are not losing people, you are losing illusions. This statement carries enormous metaphysical weight. In astrology, Libra governs the 7th house of mirrors, partnerships, contracts, and projections. When illusions dissolve, what disappears is not the person but the false image your soul once needed them to represent. Some people were stand-ins for lessons, boundaries, discernment, self-trust. Once the lesson is complete, the mirror fades. You are not being abandoned, you are being unbound. At this stage, the heart begins to heal through clarity rather than closure. You no longer chase explanations. You simply see things as they are. The energy that used to pour into understanding others now fuels your creativity, your voice, your art, your service. Many Libras entering this vibration experience sudden bursts of inspiration. Writing, music, design, teaching. Because when energy stops leaking through relationships, it redirects into purpose. This is what the ancients called the return of the muse. And perhaps the most profound part of this liberation is your intuition. It becomes louder, cleaner, sharper. The static that once filled your inner world, people's emotions, projections, and demands, has been cleared. You begin to trust your own inner dialogue again. For the first time in a long time, your decisions feel yours. In professional readings, this is where I often see Libra clients begin to shift their personal vibration from 6, service and harmony, to 7, solitude and spiritual wisdom. It is the graduation from "I need everyone to be okay so I can be okay" to "I am okay, therefore everything aligns." When this happens, relationships change form. Those who once fed on your light will sense that access is gone. They may react with confusion or distance, but do not let guilt trick you into reopening old cords. Energy follows permission. If you no longer consent to be drained, the cords must dissolve. From this point forward, no one uses your radiance without your consent. This statement is not a boundary of anger, it is a declaration of ownership. Your light is sacred technology, born from lifetimes of learning how to hold love amid chaos. It was never meant to be consumed. It was meant to illuminate your own path first. As you pull back your energy, notice what fills the space. There will be silence at first, uncomfortable, unfamiliar, but this silence is holy. It is the sound of your spirit expanding back into its full dimension. Within that stillness, you will rediscover parts of yourself long forgotten. The curiosity that once made you study the stars, the courage that helped you start over, the voice that knows when something feels wrong. In cosmic numerology, this phase is symbolized by the triangle of self, body, mind, and soul finally aligning to form stability after years of imbalance. The triangle points upward, signifying ascension, self-realization, the merging of wisdom with action. Spiritually, liberation is not about isolation but re-sovereignty. You no longer need external validation to confirm your worth. Your relationships evolve from dependency into resonance. You attract people who do not need your light to survive. They bring their own, and together the world becomes brighter. This is the energetic law of the new Libra era. Equal light attracts equal light. And something else miraculous happens when you live this way. Life begins to mirror your healed frequency. Opportunities arise without struggle. Money flows more organically. Your body's rhythms sync with peace rather than pressure. You begin to feel guided rather than tested. That is the essence of Venus in mastery. Magnetism through authenticity. The fatigue that once defined your days was never a punishment. It was a symptom of imbalance. Liberation is not the absence of others. It is the return of yourself. You are no longer required to hold up both sides of the scale. You have learned that balance does not mean standing in the middle. It means standing in truth. At this turning of the cosmic wheel, your light transforms from passive to directive, from reflection to radiance. You will no longer walk through life dimming for others. You will walk as the lighthouse, grounded in your beam, unshaken by the storms around you. And as your laughter returns, as creativity blooms, as intuition sings louder each day, you will realize something profoundly simple. You were never meant to be the healer of everyone else's imbalance. You were meant to be the living example of what wholeness looks like. That is your liberation, Libra. Not escape, not revenge. Just light, finally, entirely, unapologetically your own. 5. The message from the universe, expert insight. There comes a point in every Libra's evolution when the universe gently places a hand on your shoulder and says, "You may rise now." This is that moment. For years, you have carried the karmic duty of balance, stabilizing, mediating, smoothing, even when no one asked you to. You have poured grace into chaos, empathy into silence, and beauty into brokenness. You have believed that peace required effort, that love demanded sacrifice, and that harmony was something you owed the world. But the cosmic order has shifted. The old contracts have expired. This is your permission slip to rise, to stop explaining, to stop apologizing, to stop offering discounts on your worth. From a numerological perspective, this phase corresponds with the energy of number 1, the vibration of self-initiation, creation, and divine sovereignty. After the karmic cycle of 9, release, endings, illumination, the one emerges as the spark, the soul remembering its own power. And for Libra, this is particularly profound because your archetype has always been relational. You are the mirror, the bridge, the harmonizer. But now, the mirror turns inward. The universe is inviting you to see yourself not through others' eyes, but through your own divine reflection. This is the spiritual law of reciprocity in action. What you allow defines what you attract. When you begin to say no without guilt, the universe interprets it as clarity. When you protect your heart without apology, the universe calls it maturity. When you choose peace over people-pleasing, the universe names it alignment. Someone has been using your light, Libra, but not because they are cruel. They did so because, for a time, you forgot that your light was yours to guard. You mistook access for love and giving for connection. But that lesson is now complete. The karmic circle has closed. Now you remember. Now your energy begins to return home. In the subtle world of energy, when a soul reclaims its light, the entire frequency of its field changes. What once attracted takers now attracts builders. What once tolerated imbalance now demands reciprocity. The people and opportunities that appear in your path will begin to mirror your healed state. This is not luck, it is energetic law. Astrologically, this transition aligns with the emergence of the Aries-Libra nodal axis, a cosmic tug-of-war between independence and partnership. For the past 18 months, your soul has been learning what it means to stand alone without being lonely, to lead without losing grace, to choose yourself without guilt. Now that lesson solidifies. The Libra who used to equate harmony with self-erasure transforms into the Libra who understands that balance begins from within. This is the year your spiritual posture changes. You are no longer bowing to peace, you are embodying it. In practical terms, that means your relationships, career, and daily rhythm will begin to reorganize. People who once resisted your boundaries will either rise to meet them or quietly exit your orbit. Projects that drain you will dissolve, creating space for ones that align with your authentic rhythm. Finances, too, may stabilize as you stop undervaluing your gifts. It may look like magic, but it is physics. Energy returns to its rightful owner. The moment you honor your own light, the universe begins rearranging everything to match your worth. This is not poetic, it is literal. In numerology, the number 1 is ruled by the sun, the archetype of identity, vitality, and self-expression. When you embody the one vibration, you stop orbiting others' needs and become the center of your own solar system. The light no longer leaks outward. It radiates in all directions, magnetizing what belongs and repelling what doesn't. This is why sudden clarity, synchronicities, or even endings often follow a Libra awakening. The field is recalibrating. You are no longer living reactively, you are living intentionally. Spiritually, this marks your initiation into what ancient mystics called the path of sacred autonomy, the balance between compassion and detachment, between unity and individuality. You do not need to close your heart to protect it. You only need to anchor your light so it cannot be used without consent. Every boundary you set now is not a wall, it is architecture. Every silence you choose is not withdrawal, it is refinement. Every no you speak is not rejection, it is sacred self-respect. And as you embody this truth, you will notice a phenomenon I call the return of the mirrored flame. Genuine souls, equals in light and integrity, will begin appearing in your life. These are not karmic teachers, but spiritual allies. They will not drain you, they will reflect you. You will recognize them instantly by the way your nervous system relaxes in their presence. In this space, love becomes mutual creation, not quiet consumption. Peace becomes effortless, not negotiated. Purpose becomes flow, not performance. That is the reward of your liberation. And Libra, as you step into the months ahead, into the vibration of one, into 2026 and beyond, remember, your energy is sacred currency. Every thought, every breath, every heartbeat is an investment. Spend it where it multiplies, not where it disappears. The universe has never stopped believing in your radiance. It simply waited for you to believe in it again. You are not here to be everyone's balance. You are here to be your own center. You are not here to reflect other people's truths. You are here to live your own. This is your cosmic permission slip to rise, to say no without guilt, to protect your heart without apology, to shine without shrinking. Because the moment you finally honor your own light, the universe will move mountains quietly, powerfully, unshakably, to align everything in your world with your true worth. And that, Libra, is what we call divine justice.